There was a time when my retina came loose, and now my voice is coming back. He was the highest paid actor on American TV in 1984, flying a supersonic helicopter and capturing the attention of millions of people every week. He looked like a movie star. He has the skills to back it up, and Hollywood is calling his name. Once the film stopped, everyone in the world saw one of the greatest stars of the 1970s and 1980s fade away. The all-American boy Jan Michael Vincent really did go through this. Jan Michael Vincent was born in Denver, Colorado, on July 15, 1944, while his father Lloyd was stationed there during World War II. Lloyd Vincent was a B-25 bomber pilot who served his country during the battle. Doris Jane, his mother, got married to Lloyd when she was only 16 years old. The family went to Hanford, California, in the San Joaquin Valley after the war. Lloyd became a sign painter there, and the two of them ran a small sign company together. Jan had a sister named Jacqueline and a brother named Christopher when she was a child. The Vincent family background was not easy to understand. Herbert Vincent was Jan's grandpa. He stole from banks and made fake money in the 1920s and 1930s. An officer shot and killed his uncle. Two more uncles were found guilty of robbing a bank. Lloyd himself had problems with drinking. Jan watched as his father was told what to do and when to do it by military leaders as he grew up. That made Jan deeply distrustful of people in charge, which he would carry with him his whole life. But Jan Michael Vincent's face didn't show any of that family sadness. People said he had all-American good looks. They have a square jaw, blonde hair, striking blue eyes, and a natural look. After finishing from Hanford High School in 1963, he went to Ventura College in Southern California. He joined the California Army National Guard like his father did, even though the strict rules of the military made him feel like he wasn't fitting in. In 1967, Vincent was getting ready to leave the National Guard and made up his mind about what to do next with his life. A talent scout saw him and was blown away by how good he looked right away. Pretty young guys were easy to find in Southern California, so this wasn't a big deal. Vincent did, however, have something special that the camera would love. In the same year, he got his first starring job in The Bandits, a Mexican-American movie, with Robert Conrad. His first movie role was in The Hardy Boys, The Mystery of the Chinese Junk, a TV movie. His director, Dick Clayton, got him a job with Universal Studios. Things were going to get better for Jan Michael Vincent in the late 1960s. How to become a star. Vincent first acted in Journey to Shiloh in 1968. He then got a part as Link on Hanna-Barbera's Saturday morning show, The Banana Splits Adventure Hour, which aired on Danger Island. It was kids' TV, but it had to be done. It was exposure that was more important. In 1969, he got his big break when he was cast in The Undefeated, a battle movie with John Wayne and Rock Hudson. In the movie, Vincent played Bubba Wilkes. It was a small part, but sharing the scene with John Wayne was important. It let doors open. In the same year, he was in The Survivors, a primetime soap show with Lana Turner and George Hamilton. Even though the show ended in the middle of its season, Vincent had shown that he could compete with big-name stars. Vincent got the part that made him known as a serious actor in 1970. It was made for TV and was also called The Soldier Who Declared Peace. It was about a hippie draftee who had to deal with a tough Marine drill teacher played by Darren McGavin. Vincent showed he could do more than just look good by giving a real and detailed performance. After getting good reviews, Hollywood started to pay attention. The 1970s were a big decade for Jan Michael Vincent. In 1971, he played Robert Mitchum's son in the movie Going Home with Mitchum. The next year, he was in The Mechanic with Charles Bronson, where he played the young protege of a killer. It was a cold, stylish movie, and Vincent did well despite Bronson's famous tough guy persona. He was always working, switching between movies and TV shows. In 1971, he was in an episode of Gunsmoke, an American Western show that had been on for a long time. He was a guest star on Lassie and Bonanza, which showed how good he was. Skills that can be used in a variety of shows. He played the lead in Disney's The World's Greatest Athlete with Tim Conway and John Amos in 1973. The movie was a family-friendly comedy that showed he could do lighter material, but it was his dramatic parts that really showed how versatile he was. Running out of cigarettes is my life story. In 1974, he played Buster Lane in Buster and Billy, a movie about a young guy coming of age in rural Georgia. People were shocked when Vincent showed up fully naked in front of them, which was unusual for male actors in big movies at the time. It was brave, made people think, and showed that he wasn't afraid to take risks or go against what most people expect from a main man. Since then, the movie has gained a cult following for showing teens' sexuality and class differences in an honest way. In the 1975 movie White Line Fever, he played Carol Joe Hummer, a truck driver who fights against injustice in the trucking business. It was popular in the 1970s to think of outlaw truckers as bad guys, and Vincent was great as the working-class hero who stood up to the system. The endurance horse race movie Bite the Bullet came out the same year. It was set in 1908 and starred Gene Hackman, Candice Bergen, and James Coburn. The movie, which was directed by Richard Brooks, got good reviews from reviewers and showed Vincent could hold his own on screen with big-name actors in a prestige role. Making things. In the 1976 movie Avenger Force, he played an Avenger who was sent to a California oil town to clean it up but got too high on power. This was another part that gave him the chance to show his moral gray areas, which he was good at. He played a Marine drill school dropout during World War II in Baby Blue Marine, which came out in 1976 as well. The movie showed that he could show how vulnerable he was behind his tough appearance. Vincent was almost a star by the middle of the 1970s. He was even said to have been wanted by Universal to play Matt Hooper in Jaws, but Steven Spielberg picked Richard Dreyfuss instead. It was one of those sliding door times when you look back. Vincent's whole life might have been different if he had gotten Jaws. Vincent was in Dalmatian Alley, 1977, a post-apocalyptic movie that didn't do well at the box office. The next year, John Milius's big surfing movie Big Wednesday came out. Vincent played Matt Johnson, a surfer who hurts himself, along with Gary Busey and William Catt. In ways that no one knew at the time, the part was very close to home. Vincent was a real surfer who had been chasing waves all over the world for years. He knew the way of life, the freedom, and the loss of oneself that could come with it. In 1978, he played a young stuntman in the movie Hooper with Burt Reynolds. The work never stopped. Demand was high for Vincent. Studios and viewers both like it. There were ads with him. An eye doctor put him on a list of the 10 Hollywood stars with the best faces. Everything led to becoming a star for a long time. Then came 1983 and the huge TV miniseries Winds of War, which was based on Herman Wouk's book of the same name. Vincent played a Navy officer named Byron Briney Henry in the huge World War II epic. The miniseries was a big deal. Millions of people watched. Vincent gave a good showing and showed that he could handle high-class TV. During the same year, something else was being worked on. A brand new action show called Airwolf. The world's highest point in Airwolf. The role of Stringfellow Hawk in Airwolf was given to John Michael Vincent in 1984. The concept was easy to understand and hard to block. A high-tech, heavily armed supersonic helicopter that was stolen from the people who made it and hidden by a shy pilot who only uses it for tasks he believes in. The figure of Vincent. Stringfellow Hawk was a Vietnam warrior who lived alone and was troubled by the fact that his brother had gone missing. He lived in a hut in the middle of nowhere, flew the world's most advanced helicopter, and still found time to play the cello. The show started on CBS in January 1984 and became a hit right away. People liked the sleek black helicopter, the action scenes, and the spy missions, but they also liked Vincent. His looks were still very American even though he was 39 years old. People wanted a hero like Stringfellow Hawk because he was tough, mysterious, and smart. Ernest Borgnine played Hawk's teacher and friend Dominic Santini, adding warmth and fun to the role. That kept Vincent's passion in check. They were able to tell different types of stories every week because of the show's idea. There were times when Hawk and Santini were saving prisoners. At other times, they were sneaking into enemy bases or stopping nuclear disasters. The advanced technology of Airwolf, a helicopter that could go as fast as Mach 1 and had a lot of guns, made it a show that people had rarely seen on TV. At the time, the flying scenes were really exciting. Vincent gave Stringfellow Hawk depth that the writing didn't always give it. The figure was a classical scholar, which didn't seem right for an action hero but worked in some way. Hawk kept people at arm's length by living in a house in the mountains far away with his dog. His brother St. John's loss in Vietnam kept coming back to haunt him. Vincent played all of this with very little going on, letting his face do all the talking. At the right times, you could see the pain and loneliness in Hawk's eyes, as well as the weight of being someone who could use extreme violence when needed. Airwolf became one of the most popular TV shows, going up against Knight Rider, which was also an action show about a high-tech car and its mysterious driver. Knight Rider had David Hasselhoff's charm and Kit's sarcastic AI personality. Airwolf, on the other hand, had Vincent's passion and real action in the air. Both shows showed how interested people were in technology as a way to solve problems in the early 1980s. Airwolf became one of the most popular TV shows, and Vincent became one of the best-paid stars in the history of American TV. It was said that he made $200,000 per show, which was a huge amount of money in 1984. To give you an idea, most TV stars were making a lot less than that. Vincent was in very high air. There were, however, already troubles going on behind the scenes. Vincent had been drinking too much for years, just like in his father's ways. Now drugs came into the picture. During the shooting of Airwolf, Vincent said he had issues with alcohol and drugs. He said he needed help but that the monsters were getting stronger. Vincent was on the show for 3 years. Over time, Vincent and the writers tried to make the character less stiff, but he never really moved. Vincent said in an interview from 1984 that they were able to get Stringfellow Hawk to smile every once in a while to show some personality. He talked about how much he loved the water and how he had sailed around the Caribbean for 3 months, putting the winds of war to rest. He still surfed at age 40. Things looked fine, but there were cracks in the surface. Vince quit Airwolf after the 3rd season. Moving to USA Network for one more season, the show had a completely new cast but a much smaller budget. Things never went the same way. And Jan Michael Vincent wasn't either. When I was about 8, my dad told me about it. I never thought I'd become someone who was easily hooked, but I am. The falling trend. Vince found himself after leaving Airwolf in 1987. In a business that had changed. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, he played smaller parts in movies with smaller budgets. He worked with Tracy Lords on the thriller Raw Nerve in 1991. In 1995, he was in Ice Cream Man with Clint Howard. It was a black comedy horror movie that didn't do very well in theaters but later became a cult favorite on home video because it was funny by accident. The budgets got smaller, the parts got smaller, and the productions got less well known. Vincent was in movies like Alienator, Hit List, and Enemy Territory. In the 1990s, these were the kinds of movies that were all over video stores. For the direct-to-video market, action movies were made quickly and cheaply. A long time ago, the actor was paid $200,000 per TV show. This was a big drop. The trouble wasn't just that the parts were less important. Vincent's personal life was getting worse and worse. For years, there were signs that something was wrong. He was actually arrested more than once in the late 1970s. In 1977, 1978, and 1979, he was caught with cocaine 3 times. He went to jail for fights in 1984 and 1985. These weren't one-off events. They were patterns of behavior that pointed to bigger problems. His personal relationships took a terrible hit. His first marriage to Bonnie Poorman began in 1968, and their daughter Amber was born in 1972. She was his only child. But there were problems in the marriage from the start. Even though they were no longer married, they weren't legally split until 1986. Vincent had already married again by that time. In 1986, his second marriage to Joanne Robinson ended in terrible tragedy. In 1998, she got a protection order against him because she said he had abused her while they were married. They split up. 1994 to 1999. In 2000, Vincent had to pay more than $350,000 to settle a default judgment that he had physically abused a previous girlfriend, which led to her giving birth to their child. In the same year, he got 60 days in jail for fighting his fiancée while drunk in public, which was against the terms of his probation for previous alcohol-related arrests. Then 1996 came along and changed everything for good. Vincent was in a car crash in Mission Viejo, California, that almost killed him. He was drunk. The accident broke his neck in several places and hurt his larynx, which will never heal. The voice cords. At first, doctors weren't sure he'd live because his injuries were so bad. Vincent's voice was too broken to be fixed when he was finally well enough to go back to work. His smooth, sure voice that had worked so well for him as an actor was gone, and it sounded like he had been gargling gravel. In one of the strangest moments of his falling career, he showed up to shoot Redline in 1996 while he was still recovering. His face was swollen and scarred, and he was still wearing his hospital ID bracelet. It went ahead with the process anyway. You can if you watch the movie. Look at the damage the accident did to their bodies. It's hard to watch because it's not so much a performance as a record of a man barely keeping himself together. In an interview in 2007, Vincent was asked about the crash from 1996. His answer was very scary. To be honest, I have no idea what you're on about. I don't remember being in a crash. The reporter tried to help him remember by telling him about how bad the crash was and how his neck and voice cords were hurt. Vincent just couldn't remember it. Whether this was because of a blow to the head, brain damage from drug abuse, or a psychological process. Vincent had lost whole parts of his life story because he tried to avoid painful memories. He was in another car accident in 2002. Because of the injuries they got in these accidents and years of drug abuse, they were in terrible shape. Vincent got an infection in his leg in 2012, which made his peripheral artery disease worse. The doctors had to cut off the bottom half of his right leg. He had a replacement foot put on and often needed a wheelchair to get around. During the 1990s and early 2000s, Vincent kept playing on and off. He was in the movie Buffalo 66. In the year 1998, Vincent Gallows's film got good reviews. He played a small part in an episode of Nash Bridges. He made a lot of low-budget action movies and dramas that not many people saw. In 2002, he had his last part in a movie called White Boy, which is also known as Menace. By the early 2000s, Vincent had pretty much stopped acting. He lived in peace in Vicksburg, Mississippi, which is a long way from Hollywood. Pat Christ, his third wife, became his wife in June 2000. While charges had ended other relationships. Patricia stayed with Vincent during the worst of his health problems, even though she had protection orders against her. Are you almost certain that you will fall off again? Home. I have my white fingers on tight. The last few years. A reporter found Jan-Michael Vincent in September 2007 and asked to talk to him. It shocked me. Vincent looked a lot older than 63 years old. He had put on a lot of weight, and his once chiseled features were now hidden by the years. Years of hard life had hurt his face. The skin. Worn and aged beyond his years. His voice, which used to be strong and authoritative, was now that raspy, broken instrument that didn't sound much like what people remembered. He was careful and moved slowly, like he was much older than he was. The conversation showed a man who didn't seem to remember his past, as if his best years had happened to someone else. Vincent said, "I don't even know who Brad Pitt is." This was a shocking response when told that he was bigger than Brad Pitt, who was one of the biggest action stars of the 1970s. By 2007, Brad Pitt was one of the major movie stars. Vincent seemed to be truly unaware, though. When told that he used to make an amazing $200,000 an episode as one of the highest paid people on TV, he said, "This is the first time I ever thought about that. I never thought about being the highest paid." This wasn't an act of false modesty or an attempt to downplay his accomplishments. Vincent really seemed to have forgotten or blocked out much of his career. The drugs, alcohol, accidents, and head injuries had taken pieces of his mind and memory. The man being interviewed didn't seem any relation to the action star.